Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rep Path podcast. Today, guys, we're going to talk about the subject: what's the difference between a $150,000 a year rep and a $300,000 a year rep? Okay, because sometimes they both have side by side. They look very similar. They both have similar relationships. They know their products. They understand their territory. They both work hard. It's not like the $300,000 rep works twice as hard as the 150. So what's the difference? How do they make twice as much? And we're going to talk about that today, guys, because you're going to get some really good tips. And I want you all to evaluate yourselves and see which side you typically lean towards. Do you do some of the habits of the $300,000 rep or the 150 rep? But before we get into that, as always, guys, make sure any questions, submit them into the chat and we'll address them about halfway through the show. For all you reps that are still banging your head against the wall, trying to do it on your own, being stubborn to try to break into this industry, stop, guys. Join the Rep Path Academy. Click the link below, reppath.com, to go to our website. You could see here on the screen, you'll get more information about the program. You could see some of the major companies around the country that we've worked with and placed at. A lot of big names on that list. And then those testimonials of reps that have done well in the academy. Guys, these are individuals just like you. So doesn't matter your background. You don't need medical sales experience. You don't need sales experience, even no college degrees. Guys, it doesn't matter. We've helped people from all different backgrounds. And again, we are the only service that is going to work with you until you break in. No one else is going to offer that, guys, among the other, million other benefits that we cover. But join today, guys. Shoot me a DM or go to reppath.com so you can set up an appointment to learn more. Lastly, if you want to get a recording of this podcast or any other content that we produce, click the link below to my YouTube channel, the Rep Path Academy. So you can go on there and get all the valuable content that we come out with every day and get a copy of this podcast. Subscribe. It's 100% free, guys. There's a lot of great stuff on there, and we continue to come out with content literally every day. We're the only ones doing that. So without further ado, let's talk about the difference between a $150,000 and a $300,000 a year rep. Okay. So like I was saying, guys, it's not that the 300 rep works twice as hard. I mean, that's not the case. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely some times where someone's going to make more money because they outwork someone. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of similarities between these two reps. And what you really, to get a real understanding to see the differences, you have to spend time. You might have to spend like 30, 60 days with each rep to see what they do in the field. Now, obviously, we don't have the time to do that. Neither do you in the field. But that's the point of this conversation today. We're going to dive a little deeper into some of the habits that a 300 rep has versus a 150, and some of their approaches and why they continuously make more, overall than the average rep. So let's talk about one thing, before we dive into this. Let's not pretend it's all skill, guys. I'm very real. Okay. No bullshit here. That's why you guys, tune into this channel, because we keep it real. Sometimes you can have just a better territory. There's so many other factors that come in. It's not all skill. You can't just put an amazing rep into any territory and think you're going to get amazing results. It's just not real. I mean, sometimes there's not coverage in the area. Sometimes if they're in the hospital space and they don't have their products on the GPO, they can't sell anything even if they tried. There's so many different factors, so you can look at like we said, potential of the territory, the product, the compensation structure, the existing accounts. Sometimes you walk into a territory that has no business, as opposed to a rep that's walking into an absolute gold mine, taking over from another rep that did really well and built up a territory. There's the market growth, geography, product launches, competitive environment. Certain territories, they have reps in there that are your competition that have been kicking ass in there for 25, 30 years. I never forget the time when I was working at Boston Scientific. There was a guy in the area from Medtronic that, I still laugh. I went into one of my physician's offices, who's one of the biggest stim doctors in this country, not only the state. And I'm looking on his desk, and I see the Medtronic rep was in his bridal party. And you're like, that's some really tough competition that you think you're going to overcome. I mean, this is a rep that kicked ass. He was a great rep, provided awesome service. Medtronic's a great company. Going up against that, because that wasn't the only doctor, he had my whole territory. Everybody knew him. I don't want to say names because a lot of you on this channel might know him because he's a legend in the area. But the guy, he crushed it. He crushed it. And it was, we definitely got a good market share over time and did a pretty good job. But still, going up against someone like that, and sometimes you go against multiple competitors like that, that's a difficult place to be in. Again, you could be a great rep, you could have a great product, but a long history of relationships, great customer service. Again, you're in someone's bridal party. That's typically a good sign you have a good relationship. It's many factors come into play. So the whole point is, guys, it's not all skill. Okay. There are some exterior factors that you do get some sort of luck. Also, these are some of the questions you want to be asking when you're taking over a territory to really get a good feel of what's going on. Because you don't want to just get in the interview, guys, and then all of a sudden have all these questions for the hiring manager. You have to be on the phone with other reps. Have to. Everyone at the Rep Path Academy, we make it mandatory. Whenever you get an interview, you have at least 3 conversations with sales reps, 3 different sales reps, at least 3. If you could speak to 20 reps, that's even better. The more, the better. So you want to really have an understanding. And a lot of these reps, some of them might not be as open to give you information, but a lot do. They've been in your shoes. They understand the uncertainty. They know what it's like to jump into a new process, a new company. So a lot of times they're very helpful, and they can give you the inside scoop of what's really going on there, because it might be something that you want to avoid. It could be a dumpster fire you're walking into. A lot of us, especially when we're trying to break in, we get all excited. You'll take any job, and I get it. I'm not saying, be so picky that you're going to, not break into the industry because it's not the perfect job. I mean, most first jobs are definitely not going to be your perfect job. I can almost guarantee it's not. I hope it is for everyone, but a lot of times it's not, guys. But the more information that you find out from these reps, the better decision you can make about taking a potential opportunity or, avoiding a potential disaster. So, anyway, bottom line, you can take an elite rep and put in a bad territory versus an average rep in an amazing territory. If I'm that hiring manager, of course, I want the elite rep in the amazing territory, but that if I had to bet money on it, I'll take that average rep in an elite territory over the elite rep in an average territory or a bad territory, because a lot of times there's external factors, again, that may have a major part in your success. But besides that, guys, let's talk about one thing that is one of the first major differentiators between the 300 versus the 150 guy. The 300 rep treats his territory like his own business. Okay. Now, I'm not a big fan of that saying, especially after you own your own businesses, because there's nothing like owning your own business. I mean, again, today I was actually going and I was an accountant for the day because I was looking at all outstanding payments, with different vendors that I'm working with different individuals in the academy, consulting agreements, making sure everything is up to date. Guys, that's something that nobody wants to do. But, when you're a small business, you have to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of these things to follow up and see, if you're getting paid. Without that, you don't have a business. Now, very few of you are going to have to do shit like that when you're working in your own territory. I mean, most of the time, unless it's a very small company where it's a real mom and pop, you're going to have an accounting team. You're going to have someone that's tracking all your, making sure you're getting paid. You're going to have an HR department. You're not going to have to deal with a lot of that stuff. I'm not saying to that level, but you do have to take ownership. And you have to treat it that it's not your territory, it's your business. Okay. So the best way to think of it, are you running a territory or are you just driving around one? And someone told me that once. One of my managers actually said that when I felt I had a really good grasp of my territory. And he said that. He goes, are you really running the territory or are you just driving around one? And that really stuck with me because I was like, shit, I think I am just driving around. Because a lot of some of these things that we're going to talk about, if you guys have a clear understanding of this, then you're running your territory. But if there's a lot of question marks, to some of these questions that we're going to go over, you might be just driving around one too. Okay. And that might be one of the reasons why you're not making that income that you really hope to make. So you have to understand a couple things. Number one, where the revenue actually comes from. All right, guys. So a lot of average reps just put their head down and just call on doctors, try to get in front of as many doctors as possible. And that's not the right approach, guys. You need to know, what each account is worth and then spend the appropriate amount of time in those accounts. You need to know where you have access versus where you have closed doors, where you have competition. There's a lot of different things. So you need to know where the revenue is coming from. Have a clear understanding of that. And I mean, at the drop of a hat, you should know all these questions if your manager asks you, because that's a clear sign of if you're running your territory or you're just driving around one. Which accounts have upside? Which accounts are declining? Where competitive threats exist? Again, big relationships. A doctor's daughter is the rep for Boston Scientific and they're your competition. Again, you could be that super rep that says, I'm going to get everyone and convert everyone. Guys, you got to be realistic. Got to be realistic about what's really going on and what are real competitive threats out there. If the doctor is a speaker for the competitor, all right, got to be real, guys. Now, again, most doctors, they're going to always do the right thing and prescribe the best drugs for their patients. They're also going to use the best products. But again, if they got two similar products that both have the same efficacy, and one of them, they're a speaker for the company where they get an honorarium for all these engagements every month, who do you think they're more likely to use? So that's the kind of information you need to know. Because if you don't know that and you're just keep calling on doctors, keep spending money on lunches, keep spending your time in these accounts and you don't even know that, that's a big red flag. You need to know that. You need to know where your competitive threats are. What activities actually produce revenue? And if they do, you keep doing them. If they don't, then don't. If speaker programs in your territory get a lot of doctors out, but if it results in minimal business, again, guys, you got to think like a business owner. You're not going to keep doing things if it's not going to bring a return on investment. And the problem with that, when you work for a company, it's hard to really treat it like your own business because at the end of the day, you're like, I don't give a shit. The company's paying for it. You can't think that way, guys. You can't. When you get a budget and you only can spend a certain amount of money, because some of these territories for you guys out there that don't know how some of these expense accounts work, again, I consult and I've worked, for a bunch of companies over the years. There's all different ranges in expense accounts, but sometimes in a territory, you might get $2,000, $3,000 to spend on entertainment for the quarter. Let's just think about that. This day and age, $2,000, $3,000 to run a territory for a whole quarter. Some of those lunches cost $700, $800, depending on how big they are. One lunch. Now, are you going to do that and just go, hey, I don't care. I just want to get in front of these guys. And you're going to spend, a third of your budget on one lunch? No. If you're running your own territory and running it like a business as opposed to driving around one, you're going to say, wait, I got to really evaluate this. And is this worth my time? Or should I do 10 lunches at smaller accounts or spend more money and do multiple lunches at an account that I'm really seeing a big upside? These are all things you have to, factor in and use your money wisely. So it's, again, guys, that's what it means by running a business. And then last thing, guys, where you're wasting time. It's probably the biggest mistake that a lot of those average reps make. They get excited when doctors just spend time with them, when they're nice to them. Guys, it's a tough job. Okay. I'm not going to bullshit you. When you get in the field, a lot of you guys are going to be like, what the hell is happening out here? How come no one wants to see me? How come nurses, staff members, receptionists, why are they always so bitchy to me? Why do they hate when I walk in the room? Guys, it's not easy. They have a tough job. They deal with patients all day. They deal with busy practices. They deal with insurance companies, reimbursements, all kinds of real life shit. And then you're in there to try to sell something. And then you know what else comes in? Another rep, and then another rep, and then another rep. So they're going to get tired of seeing reps, guys. That's just part of the job. So it feels good when doctors and staff are being very nice to you. And then you start gravitating to these accounts because they're like, Joe, I love your product. This is great. Oh, Joe's the best. They say your name when you walk in, which feels good, as opposed to just saying the XYZ rep is here. The Boston Scientific rep is here. The Stryker rep is here. They actually know your name. They know a lot about you. They ask about your family, your kids. Feels good. But at the end of the day, guys, is it bringing in revenue? Are you generating business? You have to factor in your time is the most valuable asset you have. You have to utilize your time as wisely as possible. Don't just drive around like that average rep going into accounts just because they're nice to you. If you got to go into the lion's den in those accounts that are nasty, that they're tougher, guys, believe me, majority of reps are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing going to the nice accounts. They're trying to stay away from those tough accounts because they know the access is hard. They know they don't get much. They don't get anywhere. You got to get creative and try to figure out ways to penetrate. Now, again, I'm not saying waste time in difficult accounts just to try to prove something, but utilize your time wisely. Okay. So the average rep asks, who do I visit today? Okay. If you're doing that for all you right now, where are you going tomorrow? Where are you going Thursday? Where are you going Friday? Where are you going to be next week? Now, if you can't really plan out the next week or two and you don't have I'm not talking about just having cases on the books. That's easy to do. I'm talking about where are you actually spending your time calling, making sales calls. You should have this mapped out. You should know where you're going to be the next month. That's what a high performer does. That's what the $300,000 rep does. The 150 wakes up and goes, let me see where I'm going to feel, where I'm going to go today. Oh, you know what? I haven't been to Hackensack in a while. Let me go stop in there. I haven't been to St. Joe's. Let me go to St. Joe's. I haven't been to Yale. I'll go to Yale tomorrow. That'll be good. What other close accounts can I go to on a Friday? Because I want to get out early and I want to get to happy hour. I mean, that's the mentality, guys. And I'm not saying I never did that. Of course I did. But you can't have that mentality. You need to figure out, where's your next 100,000 or 300,000 in revenue growth coming from? That's where you got to think. Where is the money coming from? What it gives me the best opportunity to blow up my number, to make my biggest bonus checks. That's the mentality you need, guys. And you need to have that mapped out well in advance. You can always pivot, but you don't want to be waking up every day going, all right, where am I going today? That's average mentality. And you need to get out of it if you are in that mindset. And along the same token, those 300K reps, they're ruthless about their time. Ruthless. Like I said, the average rep, here's what an average rep does. Visits everybody. Answers every request. Stays busy, but not productive. There's a difference. Are you busy just keeping yourself busy? You could do that all day long, guys. I mean, I could do that right now. I can call in offices all day. I can reach out to people to join my academy all day. But if they're not good targets, if they can't actually, become something that finds value in what I'm offering, then I'm wasting time. So don't just stay busy to be busy. Be productive. I actually don't care how much you work. Most managers don't. A lot of you, when you get in this industry, you're like, oh, this is so cool. I'm on my own. I left early, today, and I was home by 2:00. I didn't even go in on Friday. I played golf. Believe me, your managers aren't stupid, guys. They know you guys are doing that out there. They don't give a shit. Most don't. It's about your results. So you could be as busy or as non-busy as you want. It's all about your results, but you have to use your time wisely. Don't just go around seeing every doctor in your territory over and over again. You should be crossing names off your list, not wasting time with, and then spending more time in those accounts that you can really grow. You don't want to just attend everything. You don't want to just do everything and feel like, oh, I'm being productive because I'm always everywhere. Guys, that's not it. That's not the approach. Nobody has, 100% business from 100% of their territory. That 80-20 rule is very real. And the 300K reps live by that. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your accounts. That's so real, guys. A lot of you today, I want you to get off this call and look at your business right now. Look at 80% of your business, and I guarantee it's coming from a lot fewer customers than you think. All right. So the key, though, is to not think, okay, well, I already get business from them, so I'm going to just start, keep looking for new accounts, always looking for new accounts. I get it. You got to always hunt, but you got to give and spend the right amount of time where you're getting your business from. Okay. Don't spread yourselves too thin. And then you don't want to treat every account the same. That's not it, guys. You don't do that. And I'm not saying you're rude to certain accounts and then you're nice to others. But like I said, if account is not bringing in business time and, over time, you got to cut ties. You got to focus in the areas where you are getting the business and spend more time there. If you're in an office, one of the big differences I noticed, now it's a little different when you have case coverage and you have, you're dealing with patients. You could have multiple cases in a week with one doctor. But I know when I went from Oregon to Boston Scientific, I was never in a doctor's office, very rarely, twice in 1 week when I was in pharmaceutical sales. In med device, you could be in an office every day. You could literally be in one office 5 days in a week. And I've had that happen because I had to meet with patients. I had cases, in-office cases. I had a lunch with the doctor, many things. So it's different. But bottom line, you don't want to just give each account the same amount of time. The ones that are driving revenue, you should be in there more. That's simple. The ones that aren't, less time. So more of a strategic approach, guys. You got to prioritize your accounts. Every one of you out there should have some sort of strategy. Okay. Is it tiered structure where you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, A, B, C, D, something. Have some sort of ranking system so to break it down on where you're aligning your business. Because this doesn't really happen on the device side, but some of you that aren't in the pharmaceutical field, you're going to learn about deciling. And they have deciling, from decile 10, that's the highest prescribers. That's that have the most potential, down to decile 1. So a lot of reps just look at deciling. A lot of companies look at deciling, don't factor in a million other factors that could come into play. Just because a doctor prescribes a lot of certain drugs in a certain therapeutic area doesn't mean he should be the top priority for you. Okay, sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're not, guys. A lot of times those decile 5s and 6s should be your top priority because overall they can prescribe, an average amount of, say, birth control pills, but they're one of your top users. So for you, they should be a tier 1 account. Now, it doesn't mean they're a decile 10, but in your world, for your company, they're one of your top prescribers. They should be at a higher priority than someone that barely uses you or doesn't use you at all. Okay, so you have to come with some sort of system to make sure you're prioritizing your accounts the right way. Again, selling time. You got to protect your selling time, guys. You only have a certain amount of hours in the day, and when you're in device, it's even more difficult because you get stuck in cases. There's days that the day runs literally gets away from you. I mean, I remember when I was helping support a territory manager at Boston Scientific, and then I was trying to grow my territory at the same time, any cases take priority. So I would have lunches scheduled with new doctors that I had booked for 2 months. And then I'm stuck in a case, I have to cancel the lunch. Or a case gets added on for tomorrow and I have a lunch that I can't get coverage for that case. I have to cancel because I got to be at that case. So it gets very difficult. That actual selling time that you have starts to, get less and less. So you need to protect that time because you want to be able to be in front of your top customers more. Again, along the same lines, know the potential opportunities, know what are high versus low potential. Reduce that low value activity, guys. Again, I know I said it multiple times. Stay away. If those accounts are continuously not giving you the ROI that you put into it, cut them off. All right. One of the things I noticed riding with, top level reps, both at when I started at Organon and Pharma, and then also in device at Boston Scientific, there were accounts that we went into, and I remember them saying, I haven't been in this account in months, or I've never been in this account. And I was like, holy shit, how have they never been in the account? How do they not be there in months? And they're a top rep. That's unacceptable. And no, now I learned, no, that's exactly what you should do. Okay. Because what that means is they were generating revenue and they were busy in other accounts. They didn't have time to waste calling on these accounts that aren't going to bring business in, and that's the right approach. And it's very hard as a rep to accept that. You want to cover everything. You want to know everything. Guys, that's not the approach. Know your accounts. And once you're in there, know everything about that. But just by going into 100 accounts that aren't getting you any business and you know everyone's name, the hell's that doing if the business isn't there? Yeah. And then last thing, guys, in terms of strategy for the $300,000 rep, you need to have a reason for each customer interaction. Always have to have a reason. Always have to leave with a follow-up. Always continuing to add value. The just checking in, you're going to see that a lot. Reps come in, doctor goes, hey, Joe, what's new? What's new is probably one of the main, I guess, questions, or like walk by comments that a doctor gives when they see you. Hey, Joe, what's new? No, nothing. Just checking in, right? I was just stopping by. I said this a million times, guys. Trust me, it's dog shit. You don't want to have that approach. Doctors don't respect that. They don't need you to just check in. You need to add value. You need to be coming in with something. Now, you don't have to just see the doctor every time, too. That's a common mistake that the average reps make. The top performers are visiting everyone. They could come in and say, hey, Dr. Jones, yeah, just today I was just going over some reimbursement info with Sharon, your office manager. Or I just had a patient that I discussed with Bob, the nurse, and you went over a few things with him, or whoever it is, guys. There's always added value, and it's not easy. That's one of the toughest things with the job. If you find yourself saying, just checking in, you're doing something wrong. That's average rep mentality. Be real and be tough on yourself and push yourself to continue to add value. Because again, that's what the high performers are doing. So, and at the end of the day, guys, like I said, about having that game plan and knowing where you're going to be the next month, your calendar should reveal your sales strategy. That's the main takeaway here. This next one, this is, I love this one, guys. And that's knowing your numbers, what a high performer does, 300K rep. They know their numbers before their manager does. And every rep that's a high performer can talk about their performance, their quota, and what their gap is to that quota. They know where they have to get to. They know what their pipeline is. They know the major opportunities, the accounts that are at risk, the conversions that are expected, growth accounts, competitive losses, and what needs to happen this month. All right. You don't want to, if you find yourself saying, and I love this line, my manager says I'm behind. If your manager has to tell you where you're at, wow, that's a red flag. you should be telling your manager, I'm 10% behind my goal, but I have 3 more cases, and I know I need those 3 cases by the end of the month, and I've already mapped out that I'm going to get 2 cases from Dr. Jones, 1 from Dr. Smith, 2 from Dr. Anderson, and I should be able to blow out my number. That's the kind of information you should be reporting to your boss, not him reporting to you on where your state, of the territory is. If you're in the interview process right now and you're going for another role, you already have experience, whether it's in medical sales or not, any sales role. Guys, if you don't know exactly what you're ranked, if you don't know where you are percent to quota wise for the quarter, for the year, you should be obsessed with this. That's what high performers are. They're obsessed with the number. If you're not, you don't know how you're going to get there. If you don't know where you are, how do you know where you're going? I know it's a stupid old school line, but it's the truth. If you don't know exactly how much business you have and how short you are or where you are to your goal, then how can you get there? Okay, so the best thing to do, and this is another thing that high performers do, they work backwards. All right, so for instance, if you have $1 million goal this quarter, you don't just say, oh, I'm going to do 1.2 million. I'm going to blow it out. I just feel good. I'm doing great. A lot of these doctors love me. We got a lot of great momentum. Nobody wants to hear that shit. That's fluff. That doesn't mean anything to a hiring manager. That doesn't mean anything. High performers go, $1 million, no problem. Here's how I'm going to get there. So if I'm going to do $1 million, I need at least, 10 doctors that are doing 10 cases a month. And right now, I know I got Dr. Smith. I know I got Dr. Jones. I got Dr. whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they go even further. And then they look at Dr. Jones and say, well, he's currently using me for AFibs, but now I got to get them to do VTs, flutters, X amount more. And they know broken down for each doctor where the exact cases are going to come from. So they get very granular, but they take that number and work backwards. And if it's going to take 10 doctors to get there, then how many calls is that going to take? How much in their pipeline are they going to need to get to those 10 users? And work all the way backwards. And that'll tell you what your activity should be on a daily, weekly, monthly basis if you want to hit that number. That's what a high performer does. Average rep just says, I'm going to get 300,000 from this account, 200,000 here, and they just make up numbers. And there's no factual evidence on how they're going to get there. There's no strategy. So the deeper you can get, the more granular you can get on how you're going to get that number. That's the key. And that's how you're going to be successful and hit those, those big, 300 plus years. Next, guys, high performers, they go deeper, not just wider. And I'd always say this all the time, guys. Give me one sec. Oh my God, I'm losing my voice, James. Anyways, some reps, the average reps, guys, always chasing. And that's good to do. Don't get me wrong. You always got to try to get new business out there, but you can't just think, I got 1 case from Dr. Jones. All right, I closed him. Now who else can I close? No, that's the wrong approach. You already got a case. That's great, but you need more. You need to keep driving revenue. So again, like I said, if your product can be used during, for 5 different procedures, and Dr. Jones just did 1 case with 1 procedure, or he's done multiple cases, but he's only using you for 1 procedure, that really, you still only have 20% of his business. If he has 4 other categories he can use you for, you need to grow each category for that 1 user, as opposed to just saying, I got him, I got this other one doing a case, I got this other doctor doing a case. And then you're constantly out there just being a jack of all trades, master of none. It's the same as when you're applying to jobs, guys. You don't use the spray and pray method. We talk about this all the time at the Academy. And this is why a lot of you guys struggle and you wonder, why am I getting ghosted? How come no one's getting back to me? I don't get it. I applied to 50 jobs this week. You know why? Because you applied to 50 jobs this week. You didn't go deep. I'd rather see you apply to 5 jobs, but then be on the phone with 10 reps at every company to really come up and understand what their challenges are and get to know, build relationships, really network, build a business plan for each one of those accounts, for each one of those job openings. Go deep, not wide. And that's what high performers do. So they don't have just one user at a hospital. They have multiple users. They're calling on multiple departments. They speak to multiple players, not just doctors. They're calling on nurses. They're calling on tech support, biomed, at administration. They really know their accounts. These are the type of guys that are walking down the hallway. They're in the cafeteria and people are saying hello to them from all different departments. That's someone that really has a good grasp of that account. Because don't forget, guys, if you're a onesie twosie in an account, you got one doctor using you in a hospital where there's 10, 20 targets, that doctor can go on vacation. That doctor could get sick. That doctor could retire. That doctor could move. And if that's someone that one doctor can change your whole territory, then you don't really have a good strategy. That's not a strategy. You need to have backups. You need to have, if you have a really good, strong territory, people can leave, come in. It doesn't matter because you have relationships, you have business from multiple areas. One person isn't going to make or break you. It's that cumulative effort that's going to get you to that next level. James, I'm going to stop here and see if we have any questions from the crowd.
Yeah, Joe, we got a couple for you.
Awesome.
You're lucky I felt like being nice. I had a nice comment after you said you were losing your voice.
I hear you. I hear the mic coming on. I'm like, what's he going to say? Now. You might as well say it now.
I was keeping a PG. We'll just say Joe might have had a good weekend with his vanilla ice haircut. We'll keep it PG though. I'm sure you can all figure that out as he's snorting.
Curtis, for you, buddy.
What'd you say?
I make it easier for you.
You make it very easy. Just give me layups.
Snorting, bad haircuts. Go ahead.
Curtis Delion. Okay. What percentage of quota does someone usually need to hit to double their base?
I mean, it depends on the bonus structure. It really it depends on the comp plan. So you could hit 100% of your quotas, and it could still not result in doubling your base. You can, typically, I know people don't like when I say it depends, but I'm being honest, it really does. So there is no exact number, but if you're not hitting your number at least 2 out of the 4 quarters, that's going to be an issue. You want to hit your number every quarter, guys. Every quarter, you're out there hitting your number. If you don't, again, it's not the end of the world. None of us are perfect. We miss our quotas, time and time again. Every once in a while it happens. But bottom line, you want to be striving to hit your number every quarter. And to really get back to your question, you should be knowing that answer during the interview process. Before you take a role, you need to have a clear understanding of that comp plan. And before you get hired, now this isn't a conversation on the first interview, guys. It may not even be a conversation in the second interview. But one of those final interviews, before you're making a decision, a good manager will go over the comp structure with you. And when they do that, that's the time to really dig deeper and say, okay, so let's look at this. And if you see that, it's not a strong comp plan, don't take the job. If you can hit your number 4 quarters in a row and it's still, not really that much money, whether it's double your base or not, don't take the job. You need to know that, though, before you actually accept it.
Sean Flynn, he commented, the man, the land, or the plan, ?
The man, the land, or the plan. All right. So is it the rep, the territory, or the strategy? Basically what you're saying. I mean, you got to pick 2, and I would take a strong strategy. Number 1, I would say that's the most important. And you take a strong strategy because if you take a strong strategy, that means you're going to be a good rep. So I would say strategy, and then that's number one. That would be my number one out of the three. A strong territory, with a strong strategy is going to give you a lot of success. You can have a great rep, a hardworking rep, but if it's a territory without reimbursements, has all these things going against them, that's an uphill battle, guys, that, not too many reps could win. So, but out of those three, if that's what you're asking me, the strategy is by far the most important for me.
I got Devin Marchetti. How much does the specialty you pick cap what you can earn?
It depends on the comp plan. I mean, there's comp plans I've seen in cardiology that are phenomenal, where reps are making $500,000 more a year. And then I knew companies that reps are doing well in their cardiology role and they're making 150 and they're hitting their bonuses, their quarterly quotas they're hitting their quota every quarter. And it still doesn't result to that much. You can go into, diagnostic sales. And I know reps are making millions of dollars a year, literally millions, crushing it, selling urine drug testing, selling genetic testing, selling blood, MRI testing, x-rays. There's so many different things, calling on multiple specialties that you can do really well. There isn't one that I would say, if I have to pick, I typically see when I know of reps that are making those, higher 5, 6, 700,000 a year numbers. I've seen people in cardiology do that. Definitely seen people in ortho and pain. I would say those are the top three. Again, I also seen reps calling on primary care doctors, and they had great diagnostic tests, great territories that are doing really well too. But I would say cardiology, ortho, and pain, were the highest paying when, that I see time and time again. But again, depends on the company, depends on the comp plan.
I got Nathan Escobar. Does a rep at 300 spend money out of pocket on their business that others don't?
It depends. And number one, it depends if it's you could be a 1099 rep. So for you guys out there that don't know what I mean by that, a W-2 means you get a salary, you get a base salary. Just to simplify it, a 1099, you're an independent contractor. So you don't get any base. It typically doesn't come with any benefits. You go out there and eat what you kill, whatever you can sell. So for a lot of those reps, they pay for everything. They pay for parking. They pay for all the meals. They pay for, their vendor credentialing, all those expenses, gas. They don't have a company car. They pay for their room and board. Their hotel rooms. They're going to pay for all that. So it's going to come out of their pocket. If you're a W-2 rep, a lot of times, their company's going to pay for a lot of that stuff. So, have I seen reps that they ran out of their budget and they paid out of pocket? Yes. I mean, some companies, you can't do that. They might tell you, no, you only get a certain budget and we don't want you paying out of your pocket because it could be against their company guidelines. Some could say, hey, I don't care if you spend the money. I don't want to see you do it. But if you feel the business is worth it, then spend the money. I mean, for me, if I felt that I have a good candidate, a good customer, and I'm going to get the return on investment, yeah, I'm going to spend the money. So you got to weigh that out. I mean, sometimes you're walking into an office, you buy the staff coffee, you get them some donuts or bagels, and you don't have the budget, but it's going to get you time with the doctor. That's up to you. Majority of the time, I would weigh it out. If it made sense, then I'm definitely going to do it. But it really depends on all those different factors.
Let's see. We got Danica Whitmore. What does a 300K rep say no to that a 150K rep says yes to?
That's a good question. They they say no to when a, if the account isn't worth it. Again, they're treating it like their business. And a lot of times you're going to walk into offices and they'll say, Dr. Jones can't see you, but if you could schedule a lunch if you want. Now, a lot of average reps, they'll go, yeah, sure, let's do it, because they just want to get in front of the doctor and they're not weighing out, well, shit, I only have $1,000 left in my budget and this lunch is going to cost me $300. Again, third of my bonus of my budget. They don't care. They do it anyway. A 300K rep is going to just say no. Say, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Or a lot of times the 300K rep, even when they have the budget, they want to get time with that doctor today. And they don't play that game, because some of these receptionists, some of these staff members, they're sharp guys. They know that they want to get something out of you too. They want you to do lunches. They like getting fed. I don't blame them. They save money when you bring a lunch. They don't have to pay for lunch that day. A lot of times they're trying to book as many lunches as possible. You'll see some of the doctors when they'll be like, oh, book your lunch on the calendar, and the doctor's lunches are booked out for the next 3 months. That's a red flag. Are you really standing out? Are you really getting noticed? Or does the top rep, what they do, they create urgency and they try to figure out a way to speak to the doctor that day. That's what you all should be doing. So that would be my best example, where they're saying no to the lunch and the average rep is saying yes.
We got Cara Mulvaney. Do the top earners take more risk on new accounts or protect what they have?
I would say protect what they have. A lot of times, and it's actually great because that was one of our topics that we're obviously not going to get to today. But they protect existing business, and sometimes saving. The exact line that I have here. It's sometimes saving a $500,000 account is more valuable than opening 5 new ones. And that's the truth, guys. If you have, a lot of risk that you can lose a big account, you got a ton of new competition, you have new devices coming out. We saw this in the spinal cord stim space where, Boston Scientific was one of the main players, and then Nevro came out, and Nevro was, it's a great company. And there were some some doctors that were really into their new technology. Now, if one of my big accounts is going to do a trial and start using that product, you bet your ass I'm going to be in there. So protecting your business sometimes is way more important than going out there and getting a new doctor to use you once, getting a couple new doctors that you spent a ton of time with. And at the end of the day, it resulted in, say, $50,000 worth of business. And in the meantime, because you didn't protect your account, you lost $500,000. So I would definitely say the high performers, they're going to protect their business first.
Sean Flynn wants to know if it's possible to get a link and listen to this later. Sean, make sure you check out the YouTube channel. All of these episodes are uploaded to YouTube.
Well, that's the website. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
No, thank you for catching me. I clicked the wrong link. I was sharing the screen. I clicked the wrong link.
There you go. See, man, you got bad hair, but great eyes for an old
great eyes. Hey, you're good for something sometimes, Joe.
Yeah, no, 100%, Sean. Yeah, it's the easiest thing to do. Subscribe. Again, it's free. You'll be able to get this and any other content that you may miss in the future. And again, we're giving daily content. We give the podcast every Monday and Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, but we are always every day giving new content. So much easier to click that link and subscribe.
Okay, let's remove this. Then we got, let's see. M. Lindgren 7. What's the fastest a rep has gone from 150 to 300 that you've seen?
I mean, I've seen reps take over territories. I'll give you one. I've seen a rep go from 0 to 1 million. And I've seen an idiot that, yours truly here, who didn't take the role. And there was this opening, again, I don't want to give the company name, but that I was going for this role years ago. and it was to count sponges. So basically, every time you have a surgery, there's the cloth that's left inside the patient because there's stopping bleeding. They'll have all this different gauzes and everything inside the patient. And there was this device that they came out with that was a sponge counter, essentially. Now, in my head, I'm like, a sponge counter? What the hell is that? But bottom line, if one of those sponges is left in a patient and they get an infection and they die, which happens, it's millions of dollars lawsuits for that hospital. It's a lot of money they lose. And it is an issue. I'm not saying this still happens today because this was years ago. But bottom line, I was going through the process. I actually was doing well in the process. And then before the final interview, I basically had another opportunity that I thought was a better fit. And I passed on this role. I wind up having a buddy who started with the company like 2 or 3 years later. And he spoke to the rep that actually took the position that would have been mine. And that rep in the first year, I think made 1.1 or 1.2 million in 1 year. And I passed up on it. It happens. So you could get reps in the first year that make several $100,000 a year. It's not that common, guys. I always want to be real, especially for a lot of you that are trying to get into this industry. $300,000 reps making 300 plus a year, I probably say are about 10% that are out there. And I know everyone's going to go, oh man, I know way more than that make that. Yeah, I know, guys. Bottom line is this. I know when you're looking at the masses, there's a lot of reps that are making between 1 and 200,000 in this business. Okay. So there's very few that get to that $300,000 level. Those are high performers. Again, there's sometimes the stars align. They have a great territory. They're an average rep and they do well. But to answer your question, it can happen very quickly. It can happen in that first year.
Karen Mulholland, what resume signals distinguish a genuinely elite producer from a rep who is carried by a strong territory?
I would say multiple president's clubs for multiple companies. So a lot of you guys do this, and we teach this too with resume optimization. A lot of you put all your accolades in one section. I want to see your accolades, and most hiring managers, they want to see it under the company that you worked for. For instance, if I won 5 president's clubs, but I won them all at one company versus another rep that won 5 president's clubs, but they won them at 5 different companies, who's the better rep to you? Now, to me, it's that rep that has repeated high performance at different companies. That's the sign of a true high performer. When you see that on a resume, when you see repeated success, and that's why you should put your accolades under each role that you had. You don't want to lump them all into one big, section, because first off, it's a pain in the ass for the recruiter and hiring manager to go, wait, let me match this. They were 2005. Where were they in 2005? Oh, okay. They were a President's Cup winner in 2008. Were they at that same? Oh, no, they went to another company. Guys, put it under the company. You should get right to the point where you give 1 or 2 sentences of what you did there and then get right to your accomplishments and bold those accomplishments, make them stand out. But those reps that have repeated success at different companies, that shows that they have a strategy. That shows they have a process that works. And it can be used over and over. Now, if I'm a hiring manager, that gets me excited because I go, wow, if they can do it here, they can do it there. Odds are they're going to be able to do it here. Now, I want them to discuss that strategy with me and tell me how they were so successful in their past. But that's what gets managers excited. If you were great at one company and then you didn't have success anywhere else, I'm going to think you took over a great territory. You had great reimbursements. You had doctors on your speaker bureau. Because you couldn't do it again. So you had all the stars aligned for you to do well. And meanwhile, it had nothing to do with you. It really was just a situation you're in. So repeated success definitely is a sign of a high performer.
I got Ibrahim Al-Rashidi. That was the toughest one of the day. How do you handle a top earner who has become dependent on a single surgeon's relationship?
I mean, again, if they're doing well, you got to realize they need more, and it's hard because at the end of the day, if they're hitting their number, they're crushing it, and it's coming from one doctor, that's fine, because they're still hitting their number, but that's a major, major risk. So if I'm their manager, I'm seeing what other business they can get because again, that doctor gets sick, that doctor goes on vacation. You're going to see a lot of times in the summer, especially there's a lot of doctors out there that they could go away weeks at a time, not 1 week, several weeks. The month of August, typically in my experiences, was a very slow month. Even in my current businesses, a lot of consulting work I'm doing is slower. The academy, a lot of people are starting back up in September. They treat it, everyone's enjoying the summer. Doctors like to enjoy the summer too. So if you don't have that spread out and have more users, more customers, and you're relying on that one doctor, that's a major risk. So I'm doing everything in my power as that manager to make sure that high performer is going out there and finding more accounts where he could duplicate that success just in case, shit hits the fan and that doctor isn't going to be there anymore.
I got Emmanuel Okonkwo. Can a rep negotiate for a worse base to get a better upside?
That typically doesn't happen. I get, and it's a great question, Emmanuel. I don't see too many reps saying, basically give me less money up front and put it more into my commissions. I respect the mentality. I actually tried this at a company and I got shut down. That doesn't mean it can never happen. I'm sure there's instances out there. Is it common? Not really. They usually have the comp structures, especially at the rep level, where they're not going to pay you. I mean, some companies do this where they have different, comp structures for different reps based on seniority and whatever else. But a lot of the bigger companies, a lot of the bigger corporations, it's going to be set across the board. They're not going to work these one-offs because at the end of the day, a lot of reps would be doing that. They created that comp structure for a reason. And if they start changing it, first off, it's going to piss off other reps. They're going to say, well, if you can get that, how come I can't get that? And they also could say they don't want you to have, they can have their own reasons where they don't want you to have a higher percentage for commissions because at the end of the day, it's going to cost the company more money and they don't have the budget for it. So I'm not saying you can never ask that. But is it common? Do I see that often? No.
I think we got one more, Joe. Angela Costas. What's the biggest myth about what high earners in this space actually do all day?
That they work harder. It's not always working harder. They don't, they really do. They utilize their time better. That's what I see. If they're going to be in the field and excluding cases where you could be there late on the device side, but in the typical day, if you're in the field 8 to 5, everyone has those same, 8, 9, 10 hours in the field each day. The high performers spend their time more wisely. They don't just work harder. Okay. They can't say, well, if I made 150 working 8 to 5, I'm going to work 8 to 8 to make more. It doesn't work that way. A lot of the offices aren't even open past 5 o'clock. So it's working smarter, not harder. That's the big misconception. When you have a bigger territory and you're cranking out business and revenue, you're going to typically work harder because you're going to have more cases, more accounts, but it doesn't necessarily mean working harder makes you more money. It's working smarter and having a strategy that's going to get you more money.
That's all we got today, Joe.
Awesome. Thank you, James. Yeah, not too much abuse today. You were pretty good. One or two comments.
I held back today. I had one that I almost shot out there, but we kept the
PG. I didn't say anything about the Jets, even though Breece Hall looks a little banged up already, and your season is already.
Don't make me take back what I was doing earlier. I will quickly go for the jugular if you keep talking about my Jets.
I was going to text you the other night when I saw the groin update with Brees Hall. I was like, oh man, it's too early. I'm not going to start this shit now.
It's the life. It's the life of a Jets fan. You're just
Yeah.
continually getting punched in the dick.
I
every
feel
day.
for you, buddy.
Every day.
But no, thank you guys. Thank you. A lot of great questions. Again, guys, at the end of the day, it's strategy. There's many different things that you need, but you need to treat your territory like it's like you're running a business. But again, the takeaway is having strategy, spending time wisely, focusing on the accounts that are going to give you your return on investment. Don't just keep running around there just trying to be busy and call on these accounts that just aren't going to give you the revenue and the responses that you're looking for. That's the key takeaway. But again, guys, every week we're doing these every Monday and Wednesday. If you guys want to get, again, if you're still struggling, you want to break in, guys, RepPath Academy, go to the link, reppath.com, click the link below, and then, or also shoot me a DM. Again, we're going to work with you until you break in. Lastly, any of you guys that are lobby members, make sure you submit the code Licata so you can get, that's our promo code. Submit that code right there on the screen and you can get additional discounts. Other than that, guys, if I don't talk to you, have a great week, great weekend, and I'll see you guys all next week. Take care.